Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar. I am Abdulaziz Sheikh, an ERP implementation expert at Vista Solution. I'll be hosting today's webinar on lessons learned from failed ERP implementation. So today we are going to highlight 5 major lessons which we have learned through our implementation experiences. So let's start with today's agenda. We're going to see with the top reasons of unsuccessful ERP implementations, results of failed ERP implementation, 5 lessons learned from failed ERP implementation, best methodology to follow for successful ERP implementations, and we'll end up with question and answers. So before we begin, a quick overview of our company. Vista Solutions is a dynamic software company founded in the year 2007, headquartered in Atlanta with 6 offices worldwide, employed 400 plus software professionals and over 1,500 customers worldwide. The solutions that we offer is enterprise resource planning, BI and big data analytics, business process management, and the industry we usually deal with are manufacturing, telecom, healthcare, professional services, retail and distribution, and education. We are also ISO 9001-2008 and HIPAA certified, and recently awarded Odoo's Best Partner America's 2015 award. Technologies we deal with currently are under ERP, it's Odoo, NetSuite, Ramco, and ERP in Cloud. For BPM, we offer Process Maker, and under BI and Big Data Analytics, we have Tableau, Spago BI, Jaspersoft, and Talent. These are some of our customers whom we have offered our best solutions and are running successfully today. Let's look at the result of failed ERP implementation. These are some of the facts and statistics as per study conducted by one of the ERP consultants in the year 2014, where about 57% of ERP implementation take longer than expected, 54% of ERP implementation cost more than expected, 41% of ERP implementation under deliver business value, and 22% of implementations fail to deliver at least some measurable business benefits from their ERP solution. The organizational changes during ERP implementation are not managed, and over 53% of implementing organization assesses their ability to deal with change as fairly poor or sometimes very poor. Now, these are some of the top reasons we had come across during ERP implementation. First one is incomplete changing requirement. It usually happens while the time of requirement gathering when some of the requirements are left incomplete or either changed after estimation. The next one is the unrealistic time frame. Since our industry works on the basis of estimated hours for delivery, so setting up right time frame is equally important to make sure the time given are completely realistic. The next that comes up is the lack of end user input. Ideally, in most of the organization, what we had observed, ERP is used by the end user. So, without their input, the system delivered to them becomes difficult task to the end user and for us for running their operations. The next point that comes is the budget constraints. Budget is one of the major reasons when the ERP implementation get issues since it is completely handled by the cost management. So cost management is the part that needs to be carefully designed so that the budget constraints are under control. The last part that we feel are the reasons is the ineffective change management and training. Over the development life cycle of a project, changes would going to occur. So, improper change management and user training would going to create difficulties in the implementation process at any given point of time. So, we have to take care of these reasons on a first priority basis before implementing any of the ERP solution. So, here are the 5 lessons that we are going to discuss in details, which usually starts from the first, set up your business goal for implementing ERP. Second, make a detailed business requirement report. Third, select best ERP solution for your business. Fourth, ERP implementation expectations should be realistic. And the last, engage your employees and key users. Let's see these lessons in details in our coming slides. Lesson 1. Set up your business goals for implementing ERP. Now, under this, the first that comes is the identify opportunities for improvement. So before setting up the goal, what we usually expect from our clients that the client must be aware of the opportunities or the benefits that they will going to receive from the ERP system. So they have to be very sure that how the opportunities and the improvements will going to benefit their business. So that needs to be identified first before deciding on goals from the ERP. The next that comes is analyze and evaluate cost versus benefit of new ERP solution. It is always agreed that ERP solution will going to benefit our new business, but at the same time, the cost needs to be evaluated too. The cost needs to be kept under control so that the maximum benefit from the ERP can be obtained. The third and one of the important point is the goals and technical requirements. That means while designing a goal for an ERP, we have to make sure that the technical part, the technical outcomes, or all the goals which is being set for an ERP should be completely business oriented. It should focus completely on the improvement of the business and its own success. Let's move on to lesson number 2, which states make a detailed business requirement report. Now, this is the initial and foremost important step in the ERP implementation, and we at Vista Solution are proficient in it, and we believe in detailed business requirement report, which includes current process, which is also called as is, and a new process, which is called as to be. So wherever there is a business analyst who visits the client's location, he just makes sure that what is the current process which the client is following, and that is being mentioned under the as is portion, And later on, after identifying the opportunities and the new processes that can be brought after the ERP implementation are mentioned under the 2B process. So this is how we analyze that the current process would be upgraded or would be improved to a new process, to a new level with the help of an ERP implementation. At the same time, the second point that we emphasize on business requirement report is prioritizing your requirement, because at times it does happen that the core business value needs to be addressed first. So that's why we prioritize the requirement so that the core objective is achieved first and later on the other requirements being taken care. Last point for this lesson that we follow is engaging employees and company stakeholder in this process. Since as we discussed that end users or the employees are the one who implements, who uses the system ERP. So their engagement and the stakeholders of the company who are going to give their inputs or who would be involved directly or indirectly with the ERP are equally important with their opinions to make the system a better tool for the business. Let's see lesson number 3, which is select the best ERP solution for your business. This is one of the common mistakes an organization does in ERP selection, but this process becomes simpler if we get a professional help in choosing the right ERP from all the available options. Just like we help our customers in selecting one of the best known suitable ERPs for their organization. So we usually advise our customer to avoid choosing ERP solution based on competitors or software bandwagons. Understand the core business requirements and ability of a software vendor available in the market. So if there is any XYZ ERP solution available in the market and everyone is using it, but as per my business requirement, whichever software suits or best fits to my organization that will be implemented. And that's where we help our customers and clients for selecting the right ERP vendor from all the available options. In fact, the best available options like Odoo, Ramco, NetSuite, and ERP in cloud for selecting to their business and making the most out of it. The next lesson, this lesson number 4, is about ERP implementation and expectation should be realistic. Over here, we define a realistic implementation plan and a budget. We usually believe that any implementation plan and budget has to be realistic since we follow an agile methodology. So what we usually do is we have a daily sync up call with our client so that the complete implementation process is being updated to the client, and on a weekly basis there is a project management call where the budget and the implementation updates are well communicated to the client. With this, the client is completely on the same page that we are doing. The next part that we usually take care is the proper estimation. When we say about the proper estimation, it's about including the non-development hours like deployment, documentation, and training, meetings, etc. should be considered. Because if only the development hours is considered, then at times the documentation, the deployment and trainings really become difficult and the budget constraints comes into picture. So we usually encourage our clients to use the estimations for the deployment documentation and other non-development works. And since for the last part, the change management and QA process we believe is one of the vital thing that plays important in the process for the implementation. So we handle change management and QA process very carefully to deliver our best software with appropriate output. Lesson fifth is about engage your employee and key user. Since ERP affects the whole organization, so the input from end user is important who knows the system best. Say for example, the accounting department should be able to use even and also the HR department should be equal as well. So we have to take care that each and every organization or each and every department in the organization does their job well, and at that time every requirement from all the department and the key users should be considered. The next part that is stated is ERP should be treated as an initiative rather than a technological system. So what exactly happens if we consider this ERP as an initiative? So right from the start, all the key users would be included and they would be familiar with the system by using each and every system completely. So it has to be taken and seen as an initiative rather than a technological system on their head, which really becomes resistance at times for the end user, especially as per my experiences, it has happened that the end user was used to the Microsoft Excel. They were very much comfortable into that. So getting them to ERP and explaining them and getting them used to the new software was really a tough task when the system was already ready. So that's what we have to take care that it has to be taken up as an initiative and right from the start it needs to be spread among the whole organization so that they can start using it and give their valuable feedbacks. So the same way the involvement of each and every stakeholder is equally important. So just as I mentioned, if everyone will start using it, each and every stakeholder will going to give their feedback and make the system a better process. Now, let's see the best methodology that we at Vista Solution follow for successful ERP implementation. The first that we do is the team composition, where a right amount of people with the right skill sets are selected and formed. Later, in the next phase, the process is streamlined before the implementation. Each and everything, the complete business requirement document, feature requirement documents are created and a streamlined analysis is being done. The next part, in the third phase, we do the selection of a software where an appropriate ERP is selected for the business of a client. The next phase, after the software is selected, we cleanse the data that how much configuration is required and how much customization can be done to make the software completely compatible with our clients. And while during the phase of implementation, we keep an approach of perform reference check or on which on a timely basis we have a reference check on the implementation updates and the budget updates which is that duly communicated to the client. So that's the next point that communication is the key. We keep communicating every day in a sync up call with our clients and on a weekly basis for the management calls. So that's how we keep our clients on the same page. And last but not the least is training, training, and train. Because what happens is the best ERP software can always be made if it's been accepted by each and every user. And for that, we need to make them aware, we need to make them used to it we need to make them like the software. So if they are become user friendly, if they're going to use the software very well, then they will going to get the best out of ERP and the whole implementation approach. With this, I conclude my part. Kindly go ahead and ask questions. Okay, we have received few questions that we will going to respond via email. And if you have more questions, then you can email us at sales@vistasolutions.com. Also, you can request us for a demo on sales@vistasolutions.com, and don't forget to join us for our upcoming webinar, which will be on 16th October 2015. The topic for would be use data visualization to impress your boss. Thank you everyone for attending our webinar. Have a good day. Bye-bye.